All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting for the City of Casa Grande. And first, we'll call to order tonight, the meeting. And then we have two items next, then our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. So tonight we have, I think, Father Peter from St. Anthony's to lead us in our invocation. And then please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Father?
We put ourselves in the presence of our Almighty God. Father in heaven, you are the source of life and the force that guides the world. As we prepare our hearts and our minds for this gathering, we ask you to give us wisdom so that we are able to hear clearly without bias and prejudice what others are saying. Give us courage to understand what the people around us aim, even though it differs from my own perspective. Give us prudence to help us see the common good for everyone. Give us justice, and let what is just drive us to serve your people. Give us temperance to accept the things that are true, even though it is difficult for us. Give us fortitude that we may continue to serve your people unceasingly. Give us humility to recognize that we are called to serve and not to be served. Give us your peace so that we may become symbols of unity and the face of resiliency to the people we serve. Remind us, Father, that whatever name we call you, you are there guiding us, especially in the dark moments of history and time. Remind us that all of us are called to serve, and all of us are instruments to bring peace and love to our nation, regardless of our background and our origin. Give us, Father, the graces that we need. Make us instruments of yours. Remind us of your love, and allow us to love you back. We offer all of this to your most powerful name. Amen.
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 Please join me as we honor our flag of our nation with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, next item on our agenda is our roll call. Go ahead, please let the roll call show that everyone is present.
So noted.
Next, we have our item C, the minutes.
Okay, item C, we're going to consider the approval of the City Council regular meeting minutes from October 3rd, and consider accepting for the record Casa Grande Fire Department Personnel Retirement Board meeting minutes from August 8th, 22nd, and consider accepting the Casa Grande Fire Personnel Retirement Board minutes September 7th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Next is claims against the city.
Mayor McFarland, I move to accept and pay the claims dated September 28th, October 11th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second for the claims, item D1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, claims are approved. Next, we have the meeting agenda approval, and I believe, Mr. Range, we have something we want to move.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. We would like to move item L12 after L13.
Okay.
Item L11 and L13 are companion items, and so you'll consider L12 following those.
All right. Any other changes for the agenda? Anyone?
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the meeting agenda as amended.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to to approve the meeting agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, so the meeting agenda has been approved. We have no special presentations tonight, but we do have our consent agenda. This is item G. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anything that anyone wants to remove from the consent agenda? Okay, anyone from the public? All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, item H is our public comments. This is a call to the public, so this is the opportunity for anyone here tonight to address the council. Please remember that the topic that you're discussing is not on the agenda, so therefore we cannot have a discussion about it. So anyone here who would like to address the council, please approach the podium. I didn't get any comment cards, but that doesn't mean you don't have the opportunity to speak to the council. I'll open the floor. All these people and nobody wants to talk to the council? Oh, wait, you're here for public hearings, that's right.
At the appropriate time.
Okay. All right. Seeing no one come forward, then I'll close the public comment section and we'll move to item I, which is our award of contracts. Chief, I think you're up first.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm here to talk to you about Resolution 5475. This is part of our CIP budget that was approved earlier this year. Coming back to you for the final approval on the actual purchase. This is a Type 5 wildland brush truck. It's a little different than the normal fire engines that you see us driving around, and the schematics are up there for you to look at. This is more like a quick response or brush vehicle. It's a little different than our normal fire engines because our normal fire engines park and then they put a PTO on and then they pump water and shoot water. This is a fire engine that can drive down the road. You see there's a hose on the front and they can continue driving and still pump water at a brush fire. We're asking to purchase this. The price is $309,000, $647.26. This is through the HGAC Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, and the contract would be through Hughes Fire Equipment Company. This was budgeted at $250K, but we're experiencing the same problems all the other departments. Our bids that we got in May, July for the budget are substantially larger than they are. They're a lot larger now than they were when we got the bids. Price increases with the steel and stuff we've been talking to you guys about, and we'll be talking to you more about that in the next couple of weeks. We are replacing our 2007 Ford brush vehicle. This brush vehicle, that'll be what it looks like at the end, but obviously it'll have our logos and stuff on it. This apparatus is the one that we use to go to brush fires throughout the state and some of the western states. And this is also the one that when we send it out of the city, we get reimbursed through the state or through whatever contract we're assisting. Like this apparatus responds on state lands requests out on the 8 and up here in the north as well. And we get reimbursed, and the money that is charged for that goes back into the Wildland Enterprise Fund. So the budget gap, the $250,000 that was budgeted for this, the other $69K is coming out of the Wildland Enterprise Fund. Even though it is used primarily in the city, we are going to be using the Wildland Enterprise Fund to make up that budget gap. That's a picture of it, and I can answer any questions that you might have about this.
Chief, just a question. What's the amount of gallonage that it can carry?
This is not like our regular fire engines. This only has a 100-gallon tank.
But for a quick response, it's got that.
Correct. This is strictly used, we use them here in some of the alley areas and some of the outlying areas away from the city. We don't use this we don't use this at Florence and Treckle. But out on the farms and some of the outlying areas, some of the harder to reach areas, this is the type of rig we would use. These rigs, when they go to a brush fire and stuff, they're supplemented by a water tender or some other supply. And they also use a lot less water. It's not like a regular fire where you're just sitting there squirting, hundreds of gallons a minute. You have to be a little bit more judicious with the water as you're putting it on there.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Bob?
What's the turnaround time, Chief? How soon can we look forward to it?
12 to 18, it says.
December of next year, so,
Really?
yeah.
Next year.
Next year. We're experiencing that fire engine you guys bought 6 months ago isn't due till the end of next year also. We got lucky, as I explained a couple weeks ago, I explained to you on the ambulances, we got super lucky on the ambulances. But the fire engines, the brush rigs, all these things are taking a long time. And again, stuff that we got approved in the CIP budget in July, we're getting costs now that are 5 or 10% higher than the bids we got in July. So we're having to struggle to come up and find ways to, or we're gonna have to push them to next year if we don't have enough money.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just quick, Chief, on the price on this, the 309, so once we secure this price, it's not gonna be able to go up, or we're gonna have to come back and approve
No, it's
more?
locked in. Once we pay that 309, it's locked in at that price.
And the fund that it's coming out of, the extras coming out of, do you have any idea how much is in that fund?
Well,
Obviously enough
it's
to cover
got
this?
hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, but we typically, I think, just put 100,000 in there for spending authority every year. But it's got a pretty good chunk of money in there from all the wildfires over the last few years. Right now, we don't have any that are outstanding. We've been paid for everything.
Okay.
I think you remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were having a lot of problems with the billing. We probably had 8 or 9 outstanding fires that we had billed for, but we're all caught up to date right now, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Chief. All right, seeing none, then I'll call for a resolution, please. Gloria?
Resolution number 5475, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Hughes Fire Equipment, Inc. for the purchase of a Type 5 wildland brush rig, authorizing the expenditure of public funds, authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Hughes Fire Equipment, Inc., and authorizing the transfer of budget authority between accounts.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5475 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is I-2. This is considering approval of resolution number 5476.
Me? That's you.
Chief
Staff recommends the
Chief
mayor and
McCrory,
city
go ahead.
What's that? I was waiting on you to give me the nod. Staff recommends the mayor and city council authorize the purchase and installation of an Inverus Training Solutions live fire target system in the amount of $76,400. This is used on our indoor range, and our current indoor range target carrier system is approximately 11 years old. This range is used as our primary location for handgun, less lethal, shotgun, and taser training. As this system is aged, we're finding that we're breaking down weekly, and we're bringing in technicians from C2 Tactical to try to keep the system running. But the software program is no longer supported by Microsoft or Inverness Training Solutions, and we're having a hard time finding spare parts to fix our system. The system we're asking you to okay our purchase comes with a 1-year parts and labor warranty. We're coming at this with as a sole source request because Inverness installed our original system in 2011, and only their products will work in there without changing the entire infrastructure of our indoor range, which would probably be cost prohibitive. This was approved as one of this year's CIP projects. The accounts that the money's gonna come from are listed under financial impact. This new system is a lot better than the current one we have. It has a 360-degree turning. It's wireless. It's, like I said, it's a target retrieval system. Less noise to distract the shooters. It's brighter and more durable. We have a programmable control for a skill set development where we can have the targets come at us, stop, turn around, go back, turn back around, come at you again. And also comes with a Rangemaster control room computer that's able to set all this up. That ought to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief. All right, seeing no questions, then I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5476, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the sole source provider offer from Inveris Training Solutions, Inc. to provide for the next generation XWT platform live fire target system, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing the execution of a contract, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority between accounts.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 5476 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second, Gloria. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, thanks, Chief. Next item is item I3. This is consider approval of resolution number 5477.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Staff recommends that the mayor and city council award a contract with Sunland Asphalt Construction LLC as the construction manager at risk for our pavement preservation on Florence Boulevard, from Pinal Avenue all the way out to I-10 in an amount not to exceed $3,656,140. Sunland Asphalt provided us with a guaranteed maximum price for this project. Typically, this is a two-step project where we enter into a contract with them for pre-construction services prior to them generating the GMP. But because of the scope and their expertise, they move forward with that process at risk. And so we're moving right to the guaranteed maximum price. So this will be the only contract we have with Sunland. We did select them using all the requirements of ARS 34603. The selection committee had the opportunity to look at 3 firms that submitted for this project as a potential CMAR, and we did pick Sunland as the most responsive and responsible submitter. And we've also got a great working relationship with them. They've done several projects for us over the years, and we're very pleased with the performance of their work and the assistance they've provided us. We do have adequate funds in our budget, $2 million from our CIP project identified specifically for this project, but we're also transferring money from 2 additional accounts to make the full amount for this project. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Council? Matt, go ahead.
Do you know the timing on this project, Kevin?
If approved, we have a very aggressive timeline that will actually finish this project before the end of this calendar year.
So doing it in the wintertime
Yes.
will cause a lot of delays and.
No matter what we do, we're going to impact the traveling public on Florence
I mean, but
Boulevard,
we're
one
gonna
of
have
our
to close down.
busiest streets.
Yeah.
We are looking at doing nighttime work, so hopefully we'll impact the motoring public as little as possible.
Anything we
But,
can do. Thanks, Kevin.
yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, Kevin, anything you can do also to maybe communicate with PIO department, make sure we communicate the schedule out to our citizens so we give people a heads up.
if approved, we have a plan all in place and ready to go.
All right, great, thank you.
And you know, Mayor, you're right, the communication is going to be key. And do we have those boards where you can put, the electronic boards where you can put information on there?
Yeah, our contractor will actually be using a series of those boards as they progress through the project. They'll be setting those up where they need to as part of their traffic control plan. We will have advanced signage out there, whether that's the contractor's equipment or our message boards, identifying that there's going to be impacts to the motoring public between such and such
Right.
dates. We'll finalize the schedule and get those signs out there, and then we'll have a social media presence, and I'm not sure the exact details of the effort that we're going to have, but they've been working with our PIO and our webmaster and making sure that we've got that all ready to go.
Good, yeah, because Florence needs it, needs the attention. With all the rain we've had, there's a lot of damage on the road, and so if we don't address it soon, it will be really bad, so.
And just a follow-up, Kevin, when you say the public, does that include the businesses that are going to be affected in the areas as they progress on Florence Boulevard?
If they read the information that we put out there for them, absolutely.
Not what I was asking.
And
Go ahead.
one more question. I know you said we're going to try to do evening work. Can you keep us updated when you send the schedule out or whatever? When you say try, I would like to know if we are going to do evening work for sure, just for information.
Just some of the things that we may have to do, some of the utility adjustments that we have to do both before the process and afterwards. Some of those contractors, we have to use those during daytime.
Okay.
But, you know, we'll make sure we communicate the project as best we can.
Thank you.
Good, thank you, Kevin. Any other questions for Kevin? All right, thank you. And then I'll entertain a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5477, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal from Sunland Asphalt and Construction LLC to provide construction manager at risk services for the Florence Boulevard pavement preservation improvements from Pinal Avenue to I-10, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing the execution of a contract, and authorizing the finance director to transfer budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5477 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right,
Have you done L1
no. Nope. All right, we're going to move into J right now. Item J is our boards and commissions. This is to consider approving the appointment of Doris Pulsifer to the Historic Preservation Commission with a partial term to expire on August 1st of 2024. And Timothy Gilroy to the Historic Preservation Commission with a term to expire on August 1st. Are either of them here tonight? I just wanted to kind of give them a shout out if they're here. Just in addition, I want to thank them for their service. This is a volunteer commission, and we appreciate all of our volunteers and just want to make sure that we give them a shout out and thank them for their service. So does anybody have any comments on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve their appointments.
So, second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, congratulations to Doris and to Timothy, and thank them both for their service. All right, move to item L. We don't have no K, so we're going to move to L, which is our public meetings and public hearings. And our first item is L1, which is a public hearing and considering the approval of resolution number 5273.5.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Paul, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to be here.
The whole team.
This general plan amendment is one that was initiated by planning staff, and it's a text amendment to our general plan. Really, it's a fairly simple amendment. It's a request to correct some minor text errors, which I'll describe to the council, and also to align our general plan medium and high density limits for residential projects within the neighborhood's land use area with our adopted 2021 residential design guidelines for PADs. In our residential design guidelines, I'm going to jump down to that. You can see it in the screen, in the bottom of the screen. You can see that the multifamily categories for medium density are 2 to 12 DUs per acre, and for high density, it's 13 to 24. The conflict that we found within our general plan is that on our general plan, our medium density residential had a maximum of 10 DUs per acre and not 12. And then our high-density residential had a maximum density of 20 and not 24. For example, you're very familiar with our build-to-rent projects that are being constructed in the community and others that are proposed, and those are in the medium-density category. So if they're in a neighborhood area, they would be restricted today to 10 DUs per acre, but most of them are pushing the 12. They're in the 11 to 12 DU per acre category. So we're simply trying to align our general plan densities with our PAD residential design standards. The two texts, the kind of very minor text amendments are, in our current general plan, we realized that in part of one section, we referred to our 2020 general plan, and we really should have referred to our 2030. So in spite of all our editorial efforts, we missed that one. And also, there was an incorrect citation to an ARS. It should have been 01 versus 06 versus the 01 as shown on the screen. The Planning Commission held a public hearing, actually 2 public hearings, as they are required to do under the state statutes and all major general plan amendments. And they recommended City Council approve this general plan text amendment to revise the neighborhood category density to align with the 2021 residential design standards for PADs and correct the 2 referencing errors. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Paul. Mr. Powell, you had a comment on this?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to L1, if I could.
Sure.
I sat and watched the damage that was done in Florida to a lot of these manufactured homes, I mean, and it's terrible. And the safety factor of it, you'd see it, the trash up this big with ones, and are they stable enough to work? I don't know. One of the things I think has always been important to the highest point is the quality and not the quantity of units we bring in to Casa Grande. And we want ones that have the quality. The manufactured homes, as I say, if you watched it all, what happened in Florida, it was pathetic. And a lot of the homes, the general property, the house trailers and one of the things too is compatibility. When you're building, you don't really want to be putting a lot of homes that are manufactured right next to some homes that aren't manufactured, that are of a different and it should be that way, that you don't do it. And that's one of the things that the quality and not the quantity coming back. And then compatibility is really important when you put things together. Paul is good at doing that, but when you have things is make sure they're compatible to each other. It's really sad to see some people lose property value because things happen without compatibility being in place. And as I say, I'm concerned about overdensity, overserving, on the, also on the compatibility part, I think is really, really important, and I think we're doing a good job. Thank you, Paul, and the manufactured units are just something we're gonna have to probably live with, but they probably need to live by themselves more than in neighborhoods or whatever. So it'll be interesting, but that's my feeling on 101.
Any other comments? I'll keep my comment. Matt, anything? Did you have any? No, okay. Anybody else? All right, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the floor to the public. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council or on L1. All right, seeing none, then I will close the hearing, and I will call for a resolution, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.5, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending certain text relating to the maximum density allowed in the neighborhood land use category and correcting incorrect citations.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 5273.5 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I, pardon
Mayor,
me.
Before you vote, I get to say this about once a year, but it's just a reminder that as we do these major general plan amendments, they do require a different voting requirement. While most of ours are a simple majority, the major amendments do require a 2/3 vote, so it will take 5 votes to pass any major amendment tonight.
Thank you. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next we'll move to item L2. Again, a public hearing. This is on approval of resolution number 5273.6. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, L2 through actually it's L7, are kind of related. 4 are general plan amendments and 2 are zone changes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a lot of detail on L2 and L3 and give council a really good overview. And then we'll cover each one individually so you can vote individually, but most of the information, at least on the general plan amendments, will be given on L2. But I think it'll flow, the presentation will flow very well for you. So we'll try that. So the first general plan amendment, L2. Well, let me just give you a little overview here, I guess. The city is processing a number of requests, L2 through L7, that if approved will increase our manufacturing and industrial acreage by 823 acres. 4 of the applications propose to amend the land use map designation of properties from rural to manufacturing and industry, and to modify the growth area classification from Phase 2 growth area to Phase 1 to expand the growing industrial areas of Casa Grande. 2 of these general plan amendment applications have companion zone changes, which propose to change the zoning of these properties from urban ranch to general industrial I-2. So this graphic kind of gives you an overview of the 4 sites that we're going to be talking about. We're going to start at the bottom of the screen with that L2, the 163 acres. This graphic shows you the existing general plan manufacturing industry land use category and how it would be expanded if these general plan amendments are in fact approved. It will push it to the north all the way over to Bianco. It'll It'll push it down to Gila Bend Highway and even south of Gila Bend Highway. So in looking at general plan amendments, the code sets forth 7 review criteria for us to consider on whether or not trying to make the decision on whether or not the general plan amendment should be approved or not. The applicants have, in all cases, addressed how they meet all 7, and staff has reviewed those analyses and made our own, and all of those have been embedded in the individual staff reports that have been attached to your RCAs. In general, on all 4 of these, we find that all 7 of the review criteria are in fact met. The first review criteria really even delves into our guiding principles for the general plan. We have 11 guiding principles, and it asks the applicant and staff to really look at our guiding principles and determine whether or not the amendment really helps us achieve and move forward on implementing our guiding principles or not. And again, we find that staff found that all 4 of these general plan amendments, in fact, do help us move forward in implementing our guiding principles. One of the most relevant principles that we're talking about here is to support and strengthen Casa Grande's position as the industrial and commercial center of Pinal County. When we did our general plan, we did an analysis of how much additional land we might need over the next 10 years to meet our industrial growth. And the general plan tells us that we need additional 2,331 acres of industrial zoned land over the next 10 years to meet the demand. In actuality, with the rate of industrial development we have today and the size of the sites that the industrial users are taking down, it's likely that we even will need more than 2,331 additional acres. So that's the one category of land use and zoning that we really don't have enough of in this community. And so these general plan amendments really go forward to try to expand that supply. We have a number of goals and action steps that are related to increasing that supply of our industrial land. You can see them on the screen, but really, one of the things that's important is Vice Mayor Powell has pointed out is you really have to look at where they're located and the kind of impact that the industrial land use might have on the surrounding properties and whether or not it's appropriate given the surrounding land uses. This gives you a little summary of the 4 general plan amendments to convert rural to industrial. You can see that they, in fact, if all are approved, would increase our industrial supply by 823 acres, which isn't really, it helps address that deficit of 2,331 that I mentioned. It actually increases our supply of acreage by about 4.85%. It's a very small decrease in the amount of rural land that we have. It's just around 1% decrease in our rural land use category. And all of these acreages that we're talking about are essentially in agricultural production and being converted to industrial use if this should be approved. The other thing that we're looking at here is with our current general plan, we put properties in either a phase 1 growth area or phase 2 growth area, with the idea that we should develop everything in phase 1 before we move into phase 2, because generally we have plenty of land in phase 1 to meet all of our land use needs, with the one exception of manufacturing and industry. So all of these sites are in what we're known as phase 2. As we move properties from phase 2 to phase 1, what we really have to ask ourselves is, do we have adequate infrastructure to service that property. And when I say infrastructure, we look at water supply. Obviously, as industrial uses, they don't need certificates of assured water supply. They will be being supplied by Arizona Water, using their industrial water allocation, essentially. Arizona Water is working to extend their infrastructure into this area to service these properties. The other is our wastewater treatment and collection, and we are, as you know, making significant investments in our wastewater treatment and collection facilities in order to serve these new properties as well as others in the community. Whether the property can be provided fire, police, and sanitation and street maintenance and in a cost-effective manner. Well, in this area, we already have some new industrial developments occurring with the Kohler development, the CCP development, and the Walbridge industrial warehousing. We're already going to be providing urban services to those properties, and these other properties are really right in the same vicinity. In addition, the city has recently paved Burris Road from Gila Bend Highway to Clayton, and Clayton Road between Burris and Ethington from Maricopa Casa Grande Highway down to Gila Bend to improve the roadway network out there, which of course will need additional expansion with new industrial development. But we're moving from dirt roads to paved roads, and we'll be moving even into arterial construction in the near future. Whoops, excuse me. In looking at L2, and so L2 again is at the bottom, it's 163 acres. And looking at L2, the Planning Commission, who held 2 public hearings on this matter, voted to recommend to City Council that you approve the amendment of the general plan land use category from rural to manufacturing and industry, and to also modify it from Phase 1, Phase 2 to Phase 1 growth area. And that concludes my presentation on L2.
Mr. Powell?
I just wanted to address the water portion. If we're going to keep growing, we have to have more abundant water availability than we do. And one of the things that we found out is ASU and U of A both approved a feasibility study they would do to have a pipeline that would bring the water from Davenport, Iowa, in the right-of-way of I-80 all the way down to put it in, and it's about the only way in the world you're going to get those lakes filled is floating that water in from the bottom end, and it can be done. But I don't know if, as we as a group probably should be looking at that more closely on what we can do. As they say, on the one part, it's got where they accepted it. It's just sometimes a pandemic comes along, and all of a sudden you're not doing like you'd like to. But we need very definitely to have the water. The water can be available. The water can be used. It's just a matter of doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Paul or comments?
Just a quick comment.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead,
glad
Lisa.
you did this for us, this presentation, just putting them all together. And I know we're going to go through them all individually, but I'm happy to see them all put together, and so we can kind of visualize.
Yeah, it shows the whole picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob?
Just a comment, and I think I'm probably repeating some of what Paul said, but service delivery, I think, remains one of our highest priorities. And while the change in zoning to industrial doesn't change anything, we're servicing empty farmland out there now. But as these parcels get picked up and development to some extent places themselves out there, I think we've got to be very conscious of what type of industry it is and what level of service they are going to require. I think first up, when we have buildings go vertical out there right away, the fire department's going to be responsible to protect them. And I think we at least have to have a mindset that down the road, we're going to have to provide that for this area. It is reassuring, though, that I believe we will see those projects as they come in, as they request to be built. We'll have an opportunity to look at that and give direction on what's going to be required.
Anyone else? All right, this is a public hearing, so this is item L2. So I'm going to open the floor to the public. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council on item L2, this is resolution number 5273.6. All right, seeing nobody jump up, then I'm going to close the public hearing and call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.6, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from rural to manufacturing and industry and amending the growth area designation from Phase 2 to Phase 1 on property generally located at the southwest corner of Gila Bend Highway and Ethington Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5273.6 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, move to item L3. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. L3 is actually a zoning request for the property that we were just discussing. Oops, wrong way here. So this particular property is asking for a zone change from urban ranch to I-2. It's not quite all of the property. It's 150 acres of the 163 that we just did the general plan amendment on. You can see the little corner right at the hard corner of Ethington and Gila Bend Highway has been left out of the I-2 zoning. Not sure, that may go, that's apparently 13 acres. That may come in for like a B4, heavy commercial, something like that, but it's not as part of the I-2, it's a different owner. So it is being rezoned to accommodate potential industrial prospects. They don't have any hard proposals currently that I'm aware of. There's no major site plan that's been submitted for our review. And if this zoning were to be approved, that would be the next step in the process, would be a major site plan proposing, giving us all the details on the users, which of course we would look at from ability to provide services to when that comes in. Because this site does have frontage on Gila Bend Highway, which we believe is a main entry point into the city from the west, staff has requested that the zone change contains certain conditions to mitigate any potential adverse impacts on the image of the city. These conditions include architectural standards and limitations on certain uses. Essentially, the conditions of record that you'll see requests some improved architecture for the buildings that might be facing Gila Bend, elimination of really super heavy industrial users, maybe some chemical companies and those type we would not want in this corridor. We really want new industry that really enhances the character and image of the city in this corridor. So additionally, staff will evaluate any proposed use at the time of major site plan and apply appropriate buffer areas and standards to mitigate any adverse impacts on abutting and surrounding properties, including Gila Bend Highway. In reviewing all zone changes, the first thing we look at is, does it conform with the general plan? Of course, with your action you just took, it now conforms with the manufacturing and land use, manufacturing industry land use category. But in addition, it complies with a number of goals, policies, and action steps that were set forth in the plan. You can see those on the screen in front of you. So staff does find that the proposal is in compliance with the general plan. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this, and they voted 7-0 to recommend the City Council approve the zone change request from Urban Ranch's General Industrial I-2 to the City Council with the conditions. And you can see condition 1 and 2 really relate to trying to improve the appearance along the Gila Bend Highway frontage. Condition 3 is our standard right-of-way dedication. And of course, condition 4 is that you would have approved the general plan amendment that you just approved. And that concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone on the council have any questions? Yeah, Lisa?
More of a comment, Paul, not only to you, but our planning commission. I know we're going to go through, 14 of these, but
15.
I just wanted to thank all, our planning commission, these are volunteers that serve and do so much research and homework and doing the right things for the community, and all the staff going through all this. I know we're going to be going through a lot of these recommendations, but I just wanted to thank you. And this makes me happy to see the aesthetics, elevation, architectural standards are included in this, because it's going to make a big impact coming into our community on that end. So it is going to be critical moving forward. But again, thank you, at the beginning of everything the Planning Commission has been doing for the last few months. Busy times.
Matt?
Just real quick, Councilwoman Fitzgibbons beat me to it, but Gila Bend Highway is pretty important to me as well, and I'm glad to see the aesthetics and taking care to make that area look better. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing no one from the council, then I will open the public hearing portion of this. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing no one jump up, then I'll call for a is this a resolution or ordinance? Ordinance, sorry. Ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 1178.428, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from urban ranch to general industrial on property generally located at the southwest corner of Gila Bend Highway and Ethington Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1178.428 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Laura, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next is item L4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another one of our general plan amendments. So this is the property outlined in yellow on your screen, the 280 acres. Again, it's being requested to go from rural to manufacturing industry. Has all the same context that I covered earlier tonight. The Planning Commission did hold 2 public hearings and voted 7-0 to recommend City Council approve this general plan amendment to change the land use category from rural to manufacturing and industry, and to amend the growth area phase from phase 2 to phase 1. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Paul? Council? All right, seeing none, then I'll open the public hearing. This is a public hearing on resolution number 5273.7. Is there anyone in the public who would like to address the council on this general plan amendment? All right, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and I'll call for a resolution number, please. Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.7, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from rural to manufacturing and industry and amending the growth area designation from Phase 2 to Phase 1 on property generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Bianco Road and Etherington Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5273.7 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Absolutely.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next there is item L5. This is to consider approval of ordinance number 1178.426.
So, Mr. Mayor, before I go to that, I do need to point out that I erred in telling you that the site that we just had the general plan amendment on was the one outlined in yellow. It's not actually, it's the one in red below that, right on the northwest corner of Gila Bend and Etherington. So I did describe the location wrong. Everything else was correct, so I do apologize for that.
And now we're doing this one.
Now we're on.
No, we're not. Where are we
Oh,
going?
we're
Actually,
doing the
what we'd like to
zoning now.
do-
Now we're doing the zoning, okay.
Yes, so that's the one we just did the general plan amendment on, and this one also has an associated, a companion zone change with it. That would be L5. And the zone change here as well is from urban ranch to general industrial, I-2, for 324 acres on this site, which is the northwest corner of Etherington Road and Gila Bend Highway. Again, being rezoned for potential industrial prospects. We don't have anything solid yet that's under review. But again, since this one does have frontage on Gila Bend Highway, we are again concerned with the appearance of the industrial development of this, and we have conditions, just like the last item, to enhance those architectural standards and put limitations on certain uses to address that concern. So there's our site, urban rezone from urban ranch to I-2, 324 acres. We do find that it's consistent with the general plan. We just changed the land use classification. In addition, it complies with various goals and action steps that are related to industrial development. We find it complies with all of those. And we recommend approval of it. Let me see if I have the conditions there. The conditions aren't listed on the screen, but they are in your RCA, and they're the same conditions that we had before, which is the building exteriors facing Gila Bend Highway have to be designed for architectural diversity and interest. There's that standard. Outside storage has to be screened. No conditional uses except convenience stores shall be permitted within 600 feet of the property abutting Gila Bend, and also our standard right-of-way dedication standards. So essentially the same standards for the rezoning as the prior zone change, and I'm sure they're all set forth in your attached ordinance as well. That concludes my presentation on that item.
Questions? Comments? No? Okay. All right, then I'll open the public hearing for this portion of L5. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on L5? All right, seeing no one, then I'll close the public hearing and I'll call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 1178.426, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from urban ranch to general industrial on property generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Bianco Road and Atherton Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move for approval of ordinance number 1178.426 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, move to item L6, which is considering approval of resolution number 5273.11.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our third general plan amendment from rural to manufacturing and industry. And it's for, this one is for the area outlined in, actually in red at the top. So it's 56 acres. And Planning Commission held two public hearings on this, and they voted 7-0 to recommend City Council approve the general plan amendment from rural to manufacturing and industry. Has all the same characteristics and context as the other general plan amendments as previously presented. It concludes my presentation.
Okay. Any questions for Paul or comments on this one? All right, seeing none, then I will open the public hearing for item L6. All right, seeing nobody run to this podium, I'll close the public hearing and then call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.11, a resolution of the council, excuse me, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution 5273 by amending the land use designation from rural to manufacturing and industry and amending the growth area designation phase 2 to phase 1 on property generally located east of Bianco Road between Clayton Road and Courtson Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5273.11 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote on L6?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next is item L7. This is a hearing to consider approval of resolution number 5273.12. Paul?
So before I move to L7, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to note for council that L6 did not have an associated zone change. It will remain urban ranch zone. The zone change will come forward in the future. So L6 was just a general plan amendment, and that's the same situation with L7. It's a general plan amendment from rural to manufacturing and industry, but with no associated zone change at this time. It is 280 acres. You can see on your site, on your screen. Planning Commission held two public hearings in accordance with state statutes, and they voted 7-0 to recommend that City Council approve the request to amend the general plan land use category from rural to manufacturing and industry, and to change the growth area phase from phase 2 to phase 1. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any questions on this? This is the one in yellow, right, on our screen? Paul?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Okay. It's the one outlined in yellow.
It's the one in yellow.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, then I'll open the public hearing on item L7. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council on item L7. Okay, seeing no one, then I'll close the public hearing and call for resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.12, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from rural to manufacturing and industry and amending the growth area designation from Phase 2 to Phase 1 on property generally located at the southwest corner of Ethington Road and Clayton Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 5273.12 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
No, I think you need to be careful when you get into some of these where you have agricultural uses that have continued there, and too often they get shut out completely. We talked about that today, Steve. And I think it's important that we make sure we don't step on other people's feet that have been there. And when we get over to the east side, there's a lot of that over there that has been left, and so as I say, I think you have to be pretty careful how you do this. Go ahead with the vote.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to item L8, public hearing. This is considering approval of resolution number 5273.8.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've now concluded our industrial general plan amendments. And this one, we're moving to a different area of town. It's going to be on Courtson and Thornton. 1 second, please. I gotta get rid of this call here. Thank you. Sorry. We're at the southeast corner of Courtson and Thornton Road, and this general plan amendment is for 37 acres. That's asking to go from neighborhoods to community corridor. So what's driving this particular general plan amendment is, although this property is in neighborhoods, it has no cause. So it can't develop as a single-family neighborhood. So they're asking for a general plan amendment. Hang on 1 second. I really apologize for this. Give me 1 second, please. I'm going to shut this off. I do apologize for that. So the general plan amendment is for community corridor because they can't build a single-family neighborhood, and they are looking for alternative residential land use types. We do have an associated zone change with this that we're going to talk about here after this one for a manufactured home park on this site. As the other general plan amendments, there are 7 review criteria they have to be complied with. The applicant has justified how they meet those in their narrative, and staff has looked at that and verified that we believe that the review criteria are in fact met for this general plan amendment. In addition to the review criteria, the code requires that they verify how they might meet the 11 guiding principles of our plan as well. One of the most important ones is to support development of vacant infill lots that can efficiently and effectively be served by municipal services. You can see this site is in fact surrounded by development on the north, the east, and the south, and west of the site along both sides of Courtson Road. We are actually reviewing applications currently develop those properties as well. So clearly, this is an infill site that should be developed. One of our other review criteria is to look at how the amendment enhances or has no net negative impact on the quality of life or publicly accessed open space and trails. So in this case, we do believe that this general plan amendment and subsequent zone change will actually enhance our trail development, and that the applicant will be extending an existing trail that's to the south and extending it up to Courtson Road and then across Courtson Road to be part of our regional trail network. It also will provide really good access through this trail corridor into the Dave White Park. We did hold a public hearing. The Planning Commission actually held 2 public hearings on this item in accordance with ARS. We didn't get any comments or inquiries on the general plan amendment. When we talk about the zone change, which is our next item, we did have some public comments, but no comments on the general plan amendment with this particular proposal. Planning Commission did vote 7-0 to recommend the City Council approve the general plan amendment to amend the general plan land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody have any questions? Lisa?
Yeah, more of a comment. Of course, Councilmember Powell talked about compatibility. And so I was happy to see a project like this going in this area. I think it's a perfect place. When we talk about infill projects a lot and with manufactured homes, and I know there's not certificates there. So I think this is a great place, 37 acres to put a product like this in there. I know, I'm not against manufactured homes. It was a different project. It was the location, but I'm really happy to see that we're providing these diverse options, and it's surrounded by manufactured homes as well as single-family homes next to it. Of course, my concern with the manufactured homes is, without certificates, is they're leased. They have to put a lease on there. I mean, they own the manufactured home, but then they have to lease the land that it's on. And so I worry about, financing, interest rates, also, the actual investment, 20 to 30% of a home, the property, it's the property, the land in that investment. So that's the only thing I'm concerned with manufactured homes. I really hope eventually we figure out something with these certificates of assured, water supply. But I think this is a great project for this particular area, and to give some attainable housing options and fill in an infill area right there. So I was happy to see this.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
Really happy to.
Bob?
Will we see this project again before it comes to fruition? Will we be able to see if it's a gated, fenced community, what amenities they may or may not have there? I've got questions on what exactly goes in there. And I just want to make sure we will see that again before, or does this give them the go-ahead?
Councilman Huddleston, this major general plan amendment does not give them the go-ahead to build a manufactured home park. The next item on your agenda would. The next item on your agenda is a zone change for this property to R4, which is our manufactured home park zone. So the next item is to zone it for manufactured home parks. Then if that zoning would be to be approved, their next step would be do a major site plan that would be approved and considered by the Planning Commission. And at that point, the Planning Commission and staff would see the total layout of the lots, the open space, whatever amenities, all the details on the manufactured home park. But I guess the short answer to your question is, this item does not give them the go-ahead to build a manufactured home park. The next item in your agenda would.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah.
And
So,
so Paul, can I also assume the next item, if there are residents, because I think to the north and south are both communities with age restrictions, that would be covered in the zoning as well? Or is it covered on this one?
There is no age restriction associated with the proposed R4 zoning that you're going to hear next. I don't know if the applicant intends to do age restriction or not. I haven't had that discussion with them, but it's not a condition of the upcoming zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, then I'm going to open the public hearing portion of this, L8, for resolution number 5273.8. This is a major plan amendment, or general plan amendment, excuse me. All right, seeing no one, then I will close the public hearing and call for a resolution number. Please go ahead.
Resolution number 5273.8, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from neighborhoods to community corridor on property generally located on the southeast corner of Thornton Road and Courtson Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5273.8 as presented.
Second?
We're going to have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, Paul, the next item is L9. This is a ordinance considering, or approving an ordinance 1178.427.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is a zone change request from a zoning of R1 to R4. So R1 is our standard single-family development zone. Primarily has to, only can be implemented with the approval of a subdivision plat, which cannot be achieved on this property due to the fact they don't have any certificates of assured water supply. So in order to develop the property residential, in its residential fashion, the property owner is proposing to rezone it to R4 to create a manufactured home park. As we discussed earlier, how when we approve manufactured home parks, compatibility and context is really important. And so in this case, you can see is to the south is actually another manufactured home park. To the north, across Courtson Road, is an additional manufactured home park. Now, the one to the south, for sure, is a subdivision. Those property owners actually own their lots. Unfortunately, that can't occur here because there's no cause. So this will have to be a leased situation. Of course, we're on the corner of two arterials with Thornton Road and Courtson Road. So staff does find that that's a good fit for the area for a manufactured home park. This slide just gives you a little bit more blow up of the surrounding land uses that you can see. And those are the surrounding R4 zonings that are the same zone as being requested by this property. The current general plan category is now community corridor that was just approved with your last item. It was neighborhoods. I will note that this manufactured home park could have been built in either the neighborhoods or the community corridor, But if it was in neighborhoods, it'd been restricted to 4.5 DUs per acre. For community corridor, they can go a little bit higher. They'll probably want to do something like the surrounding manufactured home parks, which are closer to like 5 dwelling units per acre. So it does comply with the general plan. We talked about the existing zoning is R1, being proposed to go to R4. We find that the action is consistent with the general plan, including the land use category of community corridor, and complies with various other action steps and goals of the general plan, including the one to for us to become more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. And as a condition of the zoning, the applicant is required to provide a 50-foot wide trail easement for the expansion of our regional trail as noted in the area in yellow. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this, and we did receive some comments from the public. The comments were, if I can kind of characterize them and summarize them, it was too much traffic on Thornton Road. There have been certain improvements to Thornton Road, but that, the big curve's still there and it's not going away. There is, this development will do some widening from Thornton Road at the intersection of Courtson in accordance with their traffic impact analysis requirements. But Thornton Road kind of is what it is between Courtson and Cottonwood. Also, there was a general comment that there's just too much residential growth from, in kind of this area. The Planning Commission did vote 7-0 to recommend to City Council to change the zone, change the zoning from R1 to R4 with some conditions. One is the dedication of the trail easement, and 2 is the standard right-of-way dedication requirement. And that concludes my presentation.
Matt?
Thanks, Paul. I was really glad to see that 50-foot dedication, and I know this applicant has been helpful with the trail system before and other developments in the city. And also, there's about 6, looks like site-built homes that back up right there, so that'd be a good buffer for those. So I'm glad that happened. And also with the manufactured housing being on the north and the south already, it's a good infill project. And to the point of, this is the place where residential is supposed to be according to our zoning. So that's how it is. And then I understand, and I hope people understand that going forward, the specifics will be decided at the planning zoning level, like you talked about when they start getting their site plan, traffic impact analysis, and we'll have to abide by all of those. But tonight, we're just deciding whether or not we're going to change that zoning to the R4. Thank you.
Mr. Lavender?
Paul, can you put back the map where you kind of showed there was brown kind of showing all the manufactured neighborhoods?
Almost there. There you go. That one?
Yeah, so this question may be for you or Mr. Wallace or both. All of those areas now in brown, I believe, are age-restricted neighborhoods. Or I anticipate.
Yeah, well, other than maybe this
Anticipating
one
that
down here.
when this goes to the level,
No, those
that
are.
if this is not an age-restricted neighborhood, we're
That's
gonna hear
not.
about it. Can we make the amendment tonight requiring that, or are we jumping the?
I think I could certainly talk to Director Tice. Ultimately, zonings are in your priority in terms of what to do. I always recommend if you're going to put a significant restriction on the property, that we consider having that conversation with the applicant to find out, because it does become a potentially significant restriction on marketability of that, right? So, but you certainly, you've imposed other zoning conditions, including age restrictions. The problem with age restrictions is there's a statute now that essentially says we can't impose it. So it has to be an applicant's thing. So, for example, in a PAD in Spanish Trails West, they asked for that restriction, right? So it's not one that I would recommend that you put in, because I think the statute, although the statute I've heard has been challenged, still prohibits us from doing that. You'd always want to talk to the applicant about buffers, but age restrictions are under our statute right now, the purview of the applicant and not our purview to impose.
I guess I'd ask the applicant if he wanted to answer the question.
Was the applicant here tonight, Paul?
Yes, the applicant and the representative is here. He's coming to the
If
podium.
they'd like to
You want him to
address
come-
that, they're welcome to. If not,
You want to wait till you open it for the public hearing, Mr. Mayor? or
sure,
you wanna
yeah, we
open
can
it
do
now?
that. We can do that. So are there any other questions or comments on this particular property? Paul, isn't the area south of the mountain also? Just hasn't been rezoned yet then?
The area south of the mountain is a PAD, and right now we're looking at, and I'm just trying to recall, it's not R4, but it's PAD. Part of it may be for
But it's manufactured homes.
Part of it may be, yes. I think it is, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I remember we
I
addressed,
changed
we did that because I was a bit upset because it has a cause.
Right, and I think the property owner is looking at maybe doing a different kind of development that might be able to make
Sell
use of those calls.
platted lots?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good. Then you'd use the cause. That would be good. Yes, Matt?
I got another question concerning the zoning, which would be to the northwest corner,
Apartments.
which I know is going to be multifamily.
Apartments, yeah.
And are those age restricted or not? I know the site plan's in, but it's by a park right there.
Let's see.
It's the one right on the
Right.
northeast,
I was
northwest
Yeah.
corner.
Right, and I think it was on the actual.
Yeah, it was on the
general
other one
plan.
before, but I had the site
Uh,
plan.
You know, Councilman Herman, I don't think that site plan is in. If it is, we haven't reviewed it in any detail yet on the property that the city was selling, right, in the northwest
Yeah.
corner.
Right.
Exactly.
So I don't know if that's age restricted. I don't think it is.
Okay.
Age restriction.
Oh,
Okay.
that is correct. It is a traditional
It is.
multifamily.
Thank you.
Mr. Powell, did you have a comment?
Yeah, how much non-manufactured home is zoned in that same area that we're looking at with the?
All this is all
So
non-manufactured.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell,
Not very long ago.
These were all manufactured.
The answer is to the east of this site, on the south side of Courtson, you have SK Ranch, you can see that. And actually to the north of Courtson, east of here, you have the Los Portales neighborhood, which is actually my neighborhood.
I just don't think that there's any necessity to push a corridor of manufactured home parks in this area. I can see some, and we talked about it before, as far as where things should go and not go. And I'm not happy with that, that's all.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Paul before I open the public? All right, then I'll, on L9, I'm going to open the public hearing. So if the applicant or if anyone else is here, please state. So let me just lay down some rules. With about 3 minutes comments, please state your name and your address. And
Walter Tucky, 10693 North Arapahoe Drive, Casa Grande. Just a question, what's the difference between a mobile home that uses water and a residential neighborhood that can't use water? I don't understand the difference there. Can somebody explain that to me? Thank you.
Thank you. Brett, what can we address the public on here?
This is a public hearing. You can address anything that's related to the matter at hand. So any of the questions, any of the opportunity at the mayor's discretion on how you want to do it.
Okay. Do you want to answer that question, Paul?
Actually, I think I'd defer to the city manager on that one. He's the water expert.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, while I would not consider myself a water expert, if I'm understanding the question correctly, the difference between a manufactured home and a single-family residential home in relationship to, it really is driven by the subdivision laws more than it is what type of home it is. The subdivision laws require that anything greater than 5, any lots greater than 5, will require what is known as a certificate of assured water supply. And as the mayor and council is aware, and for the citizens, there are a limited number of those in the community today. And so many of the zoning in this particular case, this particular zoning cases that the mayor and council consider is ultimately moving away from a scenario where there would be a subdivision and essentially keeping it less than 5 lots, many times as few as 1. And that results in a lease type of a situation. In this case, the manufactured home owner would lease a lot, and that and so because there's not a subdivision criteria or threshold that needs to be met, then essentially there is not a cause that's necessary for a development of this nature.
I'm sorry, that doesn't answer my question.
Okay, so maybe you could rephrase the question for me.
How can you have water available at a mobile home park, not available at the same place if you put residential? What's the difference?
It's a state
state law.
statute.
Right.
It's a state statute that requires that if it's subdivided, it has to have a certificate of assured water.
As an example, to try to give you a context, if a multifamily type of an apartment wanted to go in this particular area that had multiple units, it would not require a certificate of assured water supply, and as such, they could build here. But a single-family dwelling unit, anything more than 5 in this 37 acres, would not be allowed.
Okay. If you'd like to stick around at the end, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you on water. If you have about an hour and a half, we can talk about it. And it still will take a long time to discuss, but I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Or make an appointment and we can talk longer. Matt?
When we were looking at this piece to the south before, the applicant of that property said that statistically from the Department of Housing that manufactured homes do use less water than single-family residents.
Right.
But the real answer to the question is, since there's only one owner of that whole piece of land, they don't need that certificate of assured water. But if you were to divide it into more than 5 separate owners or lots, then you have to have that. So basically, it's a state law that requires that.
To prove that you have 100 years' worth of water
Yeah.
supply. Okay, anybody else? I think the applicant was here, so if he would like to maybe answer the earlier question, which, Mr. Lavender, would you like to maybe rephrase it?
I guess my
50
question
plus or
is,
not.
as you look at the planning, are you thinking that that would be an age-restricted neighborhood or manufactured neighborhood?
Good evening, council members and mayor. Thank you for hearing this case. My name's Kevin McDougall. I live at 4624 East Maryland Road, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the engineer on the project, and I can answer a few of these questions, I think. The age restriction, as was referred to earlier, is not addressed at this time. It's not known at this time. It's probably up to the ultimate buyer. It would probably be a deed restriction that would go along with the CC&Rs type of thing. And speaking to the issue earlier about the surrounding uses, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the east and the north are not age restricted. There are age restrictions on, I'm going to say the northeast and the east are not age restricted. The north, I believe, is. The south, I believe, is. And the new stuff that's going in, I don't believe there's anything on that to the west. And I'm going to swing around to the water issue also. The water issue, to answer your question, yes, there are, the way the state looks at it is a couple different ways. DEQ rates different water users with different amounts of water. For example, RVs are less than manufactured, and housing's about, residential unit could be like 250 gallons a day. An RV is 100 gallons a day. So there are different uses for depending on the zoning, they get different numbers assigned to them per DEQ. And as far as the entitlement goes with the state and the subdivision rules, if you're going to sell a house that's a fee title, you have to have a 100-year assured water supply so that people can basically pass it to their heirs. And the way that the residential community is looked at is rental, and you're only renting for 6 months or a year, so you don't have to guarantee that someone's going to have 100 years of water. There is going to be a corridor going into the east and the north, 50 feet on 2 sides. It's a good project. Will be gated. I can answer that. It'll have private infrastructure, so it's going to have low impact on the city as far as water.
Road maintenance.
Inside the project, the water will be private, the sewer will be private, the streets will be private, and it will be a gated community. Are there any further questions?
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Powell, you had a question?
Yeah, I'll go back again to what I was talking about prior. We can have water. We can have water, we can pipe it. It's doable. We just have to get up in the morning and get busy and start with it. Because it's going to a lot of different places, but all the way from Davenport down to Rock Springs, Wyoming, would be in a pipe. So there'd be no you're not going to lose any of the moisture inside a pipe. And at that point in time, if you look at the map, the only way you're going to get water from there into the lakes is to flow it in. At that point in time, when the Green River comes together with Colorado, and flow that into, and we can fill those things back up again. We just haven't done it, and I'm ashamed almost that we haven't got together and done it, but it's doable, and we need to do it at some point in time
I
sooner
agree.
than
I would like
later.
to work on that project.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Outside the scope of our conversation tonight, though, but I'd love to work on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? This is a public hearing. Yes, sir.
My name is
Oops.
My name is Kenneth L. Conway. My address is 873 West Diamond Rim Drive. We reside in the property just to the south of the property that's being discussed. And my major concern tonight, I believe, has been addressed by the council, but I want to reiterate it because I feel it's important, is that as I read the zoning requirements, that this new property would be zoned not as an R4, but as an R1. And under those circumstances, again, if I understand correctly.
Paul, is that correct?
The property is currently zoned R1, and they're requesting R4, just so it's clear.
So it will be an R4. If approved tonight, the zoning would change to R4.
It will be changed to an R4.
Correct.
Maybe I misstated my concern. My concern is in the single-family classification. And as an R4, I believe it will be multiple family possibilities in that jurisdiction or in that department. So I believe there was a possible amendment to this so that it would not be a multiple family possibility. It would be a single family, which is the property that I currently own. And that's what my concern is, because currently we can see some of the residents are turning into properties that are multiple and not single. So basically, that's my concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, there's no particular restriction on this, is there? I was talking to Paul.
As in R4 zone, Mr. Mayor, there are other uses that are allowed other than manufactured home park. You could do, for example, duplexes.
Apartments.
You can do
Can't do
like
apartments.
very, very small apartment buildings,
Okay.
but the proposal by the applicant is really to create a manufactured home park.
Okay.
Yes.
Which I think that would be in accordance with what you're okay with?
The speaker?
Yeah.
He didn't want multifamily.
You just didn't want multifamily, right? You're concerned about it being multifamily, right?
Yes, that
Like
is my
apartment, like
concern.
apartment buildings.
Apartment buildings, or even people living in a residence where there's more than one family in that. It doesn't necessarily need to be an apartment building, but even a mobile home. Some mobile homes today can maintain basically a multiple family, but that's beyond my concern.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Anyone else from the public? This is a public hearing. All right, seeing no one else, then I'm going to close the public hearing. And Paul, maybe afterwards you could maybe talk to him about what the R4 allows. Would that be possible?
Absolutely, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. Happy to do that.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Excuse me. Ordinance number 1178.427, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from single-family residential to mobile home residential on property generally located at the southeast corner of Thornton Road and Courtson Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 1178.427, and I would add that after the applicant spoke, I'm reassured with my concerns that they'll be addressed.
Okay. Did I get a second?
Second.
Oh, all right. I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
You know, I'm voting yes, and of course, where this is located, the infill project. However, I really hope that this isn't something we're going to just keep doing, and putting manufactured homes throughout the whole community. There's definitely a place, but that's the only thing I'm concerned about. But I think this particular project, I'm okay with the location and everything there. So I'll vote yes on this.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
I just listened to somebody say exactly what I was thinking, so, yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is L10. This is also a public hearing. Consider approval of resolution number 5273.13.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another one of our major general plan amendments. This one's a little different. This is actually a request to change the land use designation from manufacturing and industry to neighborhoods for 127 acres of land generally located at the southeast corner of Thornton Road and Cottonwood Lane. You can see that actually is bounded by Thornton on the west, Cottonwood on the north, Schultz on the east, and then a little bit of the railroad at the one corner on the southwest corner. A little bit of an overview on this property. Following its annexation, the property was initially zoned commercial and industrial to match the surrounding uses, which consist of heavy commercial manufacturing and salvage yards across Cottonwood Lane. In 1998, the site was actually rezoned for residential. And in 2004, a preliminary plat was approved for 393 single-family homes. This preliminary plat was granted certificates of assured water supply by ADWR. A 12.44 acre portion of the approved preliminary plat, that portion is located on the east side of Schultz, was final platted to create 61 single-family homes known as the Cottonwoods neighborhood, which exists today. In conjunction with the adoption of the 2020 general plan, The portion of the site located west of Schultz, between Schultz and Thornton, was changed from a residential to an industrial and manufacturing land use category. I'll say that the 2030 general plan continued that classification in manufacturing and industry as well. In 2016, at the property owner's request, the zoning was initiated, the zoning was amended to I-2 and B4 in conformance with the 2020 general plan. A number of conditions were attached to this rezoning to ensure compatibility with the abutting neighborhood, the Cottonwoods. These conditions included modifying the uses that were allowed, the building heights, requiring some additional landscape buffers, walls, noise restrictions, and vehicular access. So the site is shown here, surrounded by the dashes in black, and you can see existing general plan category of manufacturing and industry. And the proposal is to change it to our neighborhood's land use category. The applicant communicated that their intent is to eventually rezone it into residential if this general plan change is approved, to rezone it to residential to make use of those certificates of assured water supply that were granted in 2006. As the other general plan amendments, we have 7 review criteria that we're required to look at and analyze. The applicant has provided a narrative describing how they comply with all 7, and those are set forth in your staff report. And one of those review criteria is also to detail how the guiding principles of our general plan are being achieved with the proposed general plan amendment. And we have 11 of those, and the applicant has addressed how they comply with those. So this is an interesting item in that staff actually recommended to the Planning Commission that this general plan amendment be denied, and that the site should remain in a manufacturing and industry category, in zoned industrial with the existing conditions of record that ensure compatibility with adjacent residential development. Planning staff's recommendation was based on 2 principles. As previously noted, the city is continuing to see a very high demand for industrial land. This is even more prevalent for land that's considered shovel-ready with nearby infrastructure in place, which this site meets those criteria. The other one is just as important is that when you're trying to put industrial land next to residential land, it's very difficult to ensure compatibility with those 2 very different land uses. It can be done, but it takes some effort. So in this case, when this property was zoned into I-2, staff put a lot of effort into making sure that the industrial development of this property would have no adverse impacts on the existing Cottonwoods neighborhood. We imposed a new additional landscape buffer as part of the condition of zoning, restricted building heights, restricted the uses, restricted access, and imposed noise restrictions as well, all of which to achieve compatibility with the neighborhoods. As we, so essentially, staff understood and does continue to understand that it's really important to make use of all of our certificates of assured water supply. But in this case, we just could not come to the conclusion that this was an appropriate location for a new residential neighborhood. We thought it would have too much adverse impact by the rail, the adjacent arterials, and maybe even just as important is that allowing this general plan amendment and allowing this property to go residential will have adverse impact on the industrial land that's on the west of Thornton Road. At the public hearing, we heard testimony that's from the applicant's sort of realtor team that said, hey, we're having trouble marketing this as industrial because we have residential right next door, which might be true because a lot of industrial users are kind of sensitive to having adjacent residential neighborhoods. But by allowing this property to develop residentially, it's going to hurt the marketability of the vacant industrial site on the west side of Thornton. So it's certainly going to have adverse impacts on that adjacent industrial property. Having said that, you can see the industrial property to the west of Thornton, the rail line, and the sort of the heavy industrial junkyard, salvage yards to the north of Cottonwood. I'll back up here for just a second. You can see the big green line. That's sort of the buffer that we introduced to separate this industrial from that residential. If in fact this subject property does become neighborhoods and they rezone it industrial, we could impose that same kind of buffer along their west boundary. We can do that. But we can't impose those other use restrictions and height restrictions and noise restrictions necessarily on the industrial ground across the road, Thornton, because it's already zoned I-1, and the applicant doesn't own that. So we can do some mitigation to improve compatibility to the industrial across Thornton, but not as much as we were able to achieve in this situation. But having said that, you know, I mentioned the cause and how we understand why cause, the use of cause is very important to the community, and that's certainly true. But the cause can be used for industrial subdivisions too. It doesn't just need, it can be used for any subdivision over 5 lots. And in fact, this particular property had in the past had a preliminary plat approved for an industrial subdivision in its kind of southwest corner. This whole site could be converted to an industrial subdivision, and there's certainly a need for industrial subdivisions in this community. The only one that we have left really is our airport industrial park, as the Central Arizona Commerce Park is completely full as a platted subdivision. So I think staff believes that there's a community need for industrial subdivisions as well. The Planning Commission did hold 2 public hearings on this item as required by statute. And during the public hearings process, we did receive multiple emails in support of the request, including from the residents of the Cottonwood subdivision. As a result of those public hearings and listening to both staff and the applicant, Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend that City Council approve the request to amend the general plan category from manufacturing industry to neighborhoods. And that concludes my presentation.
Comments, questions? Matt?
I think it's important to note that the Planning and Zoning Commission saw it that way too. 7-0 vote, not a split vote, not anything else. I remember the last time we rezoned this, it's been quite a few years ago, and we did put a lot of work, and the applicant was very gracious, and they agreed to all the conditions, even though it cut down a lot of their developable area, and also the marketability of those buildings because of the height. But they agreed to it, they've tried to market it, it hasn't gone anywhere. We talk out of one side of our mouth about these things with cause for housing. While this is kind of an industrial area, maybe some people want to live there because that's where they work. You know, so that might be something to look at as well, because it'd be close to where people work, shorter commutes, and you know, the developer, that's their business. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. They want to sell the property, they want to see what they can do with it. So, I mean, I think they've tried the different things that they've been through over the years, and they just want to do it. And it, you know, it was hard it was hard for us when we had to deal with the Cottonwoods, not deal with, but listen to the Cottonwoods subdivision before about they didn't really want the industrial there. So, you know, here we're helping them back out with that. And also, the concerns to me would be the railroad, and you said that industrial across the street, which we could do the buffer zone, but the people buying houses there would know the train's there and the industrial's there already, so they should be cautious of that. So, I mean, I think we need to try, see if they can do it with a, you know, with the subdivision, with a housing subdivision right there. I do agree, I would like to see more industrial, but, you know, I don't own this land, so that's what they want to do with it.
Go ahead.
You know, I have concerns about this area, and I have had even the Cottonwood that's already there, the homes that are there now, because I know that in some of the area around that, not this particular property, but people that live in that area have complained about noise and traffic and, you know, the big trucks and all those things. And so I'm concerned about that anyway. And then, you know, when you think it is industrial, and I know that there has been, you know, some different things going on in that neighborhood, I have to agree with staff on this, and I've seen it go back and forth a number of times, you know, the zoning, and I'm not confident that this is the best use for that, that area. I'm just really concerned about the housing issues, so.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay.
I'll come with you, Lisa.
So just an observation, I think this property is going to be buffer no matter which way it goes. They're going to have to present a buffer between other residential and ultimately industrial if we approve this tonight. I think Thornton Road is a good addition to the buffer. I think that's a good place to build a block wall and not have house frontages on Thornton or Cottonwood. And also just a philosophical thought, I really believe in that our job, our position is to help the owners of the property do what they need to do what they want to do. And I think as government, we should exercise our authority and muscle as minimally as possible. I think this is workable. I think the owner can make it work either way. So I'm going to be in support of it.
Lisa?
And I agree with Councilmember Huddleston and Councilmember Herman. You know, of course, you know, I've been on the council when the owner has, you know, tried different, you know, we've done a few things, and he has been really good working with us with the buffers and trying to make, you know, accommodate the adjacent development there. So I'm with you. I really think there will be buffers there. What I love about it is it does have the certificates of assured water, and I do believe this would be a really good location when we talk about true affordable housing, you know, because this is in a lower to moderate income area. So people will be able to get certain financing, you know, because there's certain designation areas that qualify for affordable housing. And so this is one of those designation areas where they can possibly get that type of financing for first home buyers. Now, obviously, people are going to know what's across the street from them. You know, the railroad is there. Not everyone is going to want to work there or live there, but I like the idea of it. I think it, you know, again, compatibility, good location. You know, if we move forward with the transit, you know, this is a little bit outside of the area, but close enough that this development, you know, for people that might not have cars, you know, would have access to transit, because it's just a little bit on the outskirts of the phase one of the transit plan. So I agree with the planning and zoning recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, and I would just chime in too that I think it, you know, our job is to try and make sure it's compatible, make sure it fits with our community, but it's also our job to also listen to the wishes of the landowner. I mean, the person who's spent money on this property and they want to try and develop it, I think that it behooves us to try and do what we can do to try and make sure that happens. So, all right, this is a public hearing. Council doesn't have any other comments, so I'll open Mr. Powell.
I just would like to say, I think that the development needs to be something that's understandable, something that people know where they're going to get water, where they're going to get the different things that are involved in that. And I think we as a community need to move them and help them. And I think we do a real good job of that when people come up for new housing. But as I say, I think that people need to be able to understand what they're looking at, what's available to them, what they can do, what they can't do. And if it's an issue where the city is not doing its job, then we would invite anybody that's involved among the developers and the others to come in and sit down and talk about it. I know Paul would be happy to do that. So there's a lot of land. We covered a lot tonight. I'll tell you what, it was one of the heaviest nights we've had for.
We're not done yet.
For quite a long time. So
Okay.
I'm not trying to get out of here early, but I just want.
You're just glad the mayor's back, right?
All right, so I will open the public hearing. This is item L10, considering approval of resolution number 5273.13. Is there anyone in the public who would like to address this issue? All right, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.13. A resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from manufacturing and industry to neighborhoods on property generally located at the southeast corner of Thornton Road and Cottonwood Lane, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5273.13 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
And I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second. Was that
Matt.
Matt.
Matt? Thank you.
I was leaning back,
Councilmember
sorry.
Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Respectfully, no.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. This is where we changed a couple things. We combined L11 and L13, correct? So we're going to talk about both these together. We'll address them each separately, but we'll bring in L12. We'll vote on L12 after 11 and 13.
Correct. Item 12 isn't related to items 11 and 13. We thought we'd change it up to make it exciting for you this evening.
Appreciate
But
that.
11 and 13 are related to one another.
Appreciate that.
This is also different because this evening I know you've considered a lot of major general plan amendments, which can only occur once a year, and then the companion item has been a PAD amendment. So this is a little bit different because you are considering a general plan amendment, but it's minor. This didn't have to wait until October 17th. We just thought we would bundle this with all the others.
Throw it in with all the others. All right.
Why not?
So it's a little bit different in that regard, but you are being asked to consider two requests this evening. The first is a minor general plan amendment for the Cottonwood Commons PAD.
We did it.
And then also a major amendment to the Casa Grande Commons PAD. So basically what the requests entail is for the minor general plan amendment would be to remove a portion of the PAD that is within the Phase 2 growth area of the 2030 general plan and to place it into Phase 1. And also the PAD amendment has to do with amending about 543 acres of 591 acre PAD to primarily introduce residential land use in certain areas, and providing some compatibility measures with respect to the fact that these residential areas will be among industrial and commercial uses. So firstly, talking about the minor general plan amendment, as you see on the left is the current general plan map, and everything north of Cottonwood is in growth area 2. The difference between Phase 1 and Phase 2, as you know, is that Phase 2 are those areas of the city that have been identified as a little further away from existing infrastructure and further away from the ability to serve the area with services, whereas Phase 1 does have adequate infrastructure and services. So their request is to put all of Casa Grande Commons in Phase 1. And the applicant's argument is that, upon developing this site, they will provide the necessary infrastructure to make that area north of Cottonwood just as developable as the area south of Cottonwood. The general plan also, if you look on the left, that was the designation in the old general plan. Cottonwood, Casa Grande Commons was initially approved as a PAD when the majority of the PAD fell within the Commerce and Business General Plan designation. But since the 2020 general plan occurred, the applicant actually proposed and was approved to place a majority of the PAD into the large mixed-use general plan category, and that was so captured in the general plan 2030. And so what's driving the PAD amendment is to basically introduce some land uses that speak more to the current large mixed-use general plan designation. A little bit about large mixed use is there's a few areas of the city that have this designation already. But if this PAD is allowed to be amended, this is going to be the first PAD that reflects specific uses and development standards that speak to this category. All the other areas in town that are currently designated mixed use, their underlying zoning is reflective of a previous general plan designation. So this would be the first one to really utilize what this category is intended to serve. And a little bit about that is up to 50% of the large mixed-use area can be residential, and then up to 50% of the area can be industrial, and up to 70% of the area can be commercial. So it's really kind of a unique general plan category because it invites and welcomes 3 different uses that are generally not compatible, but by the nature of it being mixed use, there's certain development standards that have to be considered, and it does call for the PAD to be rather unique because you do have to introduce certain compatibility measures and buffers so that these 3 different use types can be harmonious with one another. So on the left is the currently approved PAD for Casa Grande Commons. And what's proposed in the amendment is on the right. They're proposing to break the area up basically into 4 development areas. Within all 4 of the areas there is a proposal to provide a mixture of residential and commercial uses. And then in the two development areas closest to the interstate, they're also proposing industrial as well. I do want to point out that there is an area of the PAD that you can see on the first image on the left that's kind of a disconnected from the rest of the PAD. It's about a 50-acre area down by the promenade at Hacienda in Florence. That is not part of the amendment. So what was approved back in 2019 when this was originally approved will not affect that area. We're only looking at these 4 development areas as part of the amendment. When reviewing PAD amendments, these are the criteria that have to be evaluated, and the staff report that was included with the RCA discusses these in greater detail, but we felt that all of these criteria have been addressed. And the primary one I want to talk about, though, is the interrelationship with the plan elements to conditions both on and off of the property. What the PAD suggests is quite a robust circulation plan. And the reason why I felt that the circulation plan spoke best to this interrelationship is how it intends to shuttle traffic through the area, and it does have some benefit to areas outside of the PAD. So firstly, there's the existing traffic interchange at Florence and I-10, and then there's the future traffic interchange at Quartzon and I-10. So between that 2-mile stretch, they're proposing to extend Mission Parkway as well as Promenade Way. So there'll be 2 paralleling roads immediately east of I-10. And in addition, you have Hacienda further to the east. And in between these 3 north-south roads, they're proposing a network of other east-west connectors. So that will really help with the circulation of the different uses that they're proposing throughout the site. Also, because this PAD does propose to mix residential with commercial, and in certain development areas, you also could potentially see industrial. They had to provide I'd like to just think of a better word, but it's a complex chart showing how these uses can all coexist. And so this chart does provide certain standards in terms of what's permitted next to each other and what's not permitted next to each other, and in certain situations, what are certain buffer requirements. So for example, high-density residential next to industrial, for example, that would require their 50-foot landscape buffer separating industrial from residential. And if not the 50-foot landscape buffer, then there'd have to be a public right-of-way. You'd also have to provide a 6-foot tall masonry wall. And then there's also some flexibility where staff, through the major site plan process, could ask for other compatibility measures such as building orientation, etc. So because there is a portion of the PAD that does fall within the Phase 2 growth area of the general plan, Council can't consider the PAD amendment without first considering the minor general plan amendment to put the area of Cottonwood or Casa Grande Commons that's in Phase 2 into Phase 1. And so with that, firstly, I do want to state that when Planning Commission met on this in September at a 7-0 vote, they did recommend that Council should approve this minor amendment. And then what I would ask you, Mayor, is did you now want to take a vote on this, or do you want me to move on to the recommendation for the PAD amendment?
Well, if L13 fits in, can we maybe talk about the whole thing, and then we can come back and ask questions? And obviously, it's a public hearing, so we have to open public hearings.
Sure.
So go ahead and roll
Wrap
in.
it up.
Yeah, roll into L13.
All right, yeah, and so basically, in conclusion for L13, at that same meeting, Planning Commission unanimously recommended that City Council should approve the major amendment to the Casa Grande Commons PAD. And that concludes my presentation.
That was quick.
That was quick.
Yeah. See, I left a little cliffhanger, like I had many more slides to go.
Does council have any questions on this? Okay. Seeing no questions then, I'm going to open the public hearing for L11 first. So this is the minor amendment to the city's general plan. So is there anyone here in the public? I'm going to open the floor, so if there's anybody here for L11, this is your opportunity to address council. Mr. Powell?
We talked about this earlier, but there's still quite a bit of agriculture left in this whole area right here. And one of them, I know it's growing the pecan trees, and it goes for that long stretch, and then they go on over to Hacienda Road, and
right there.
there's places over there, so I think it's important to not let them get run over or whatever. They do a good job with what they're doing. I was with some this morning, and they were concerned about it, but I said there shouldn't be any problem. They grow the pecans out, and they do a real good job with it.
Okay. All right, the public hearing is open, so if there's anyone here who would like to address this, I didn't see anybody earlier. All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing then, and I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.9. A resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting a minor amendment to the city of Casa Grande General Plan 2030 as adopted by resolution number 5273 by changing the growth area from phase 2 to phase 1 for approximately 394.7 acres of property, all generally located of Cottonwood Lane between I-10 and Hacienda Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5273.9 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, so the other half, or part of this is L13. So any comments from council on L13? Yes, Lisa?
Well, and just a comment, when you look at the graphic of where this is located, we talk about mixed use, so often, and this is just a perfect place to put, mixed use here. I know there was a lot of discussion from planning and zoning on traffic, and obviously that'll come later, but there was a lot on, trucks and everything else, but no, I just think, again, compatibility, I think it's a great place, great location.
Matt?
And remember, we're not approving any site plan tonight. That'll come back
Mhm.
at some point. But yeah, to Councilwoman Fitzgibbons' point, the mixed use. And it is neat that we have the people growing the pecan trees right there. And I like the fact that you have that other road that goes through there to get the traffic off of Mission Parkway, so you have two roads, so it won't be so busy there. And I think, you know, as long as when we do the site plan, we get it to be compatible with that stuff to the west there, to the east, that, you know, we'll just make sure that that's compatible, and I'm sure we will at that point. So I think it's gonna be a neat development, kind of the stuff we've been talking about wanting in town, and obviously I would think the heavier stuff would be closer to the interstate and then taper off into lighter uses, so. All the planners are nodding, I'm learning a little bit from you guys, so thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing for L13. This is ordinance number 1178.236.3. All right, seeing no one jump up, then I'll close the public hearing and call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria, on L13.
Ordinance number 1178.236.3, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a major amendment to Casa Grande Commons planned area development for property generally located between I-10 and Hacienda Road and north of the Promenade Mall, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 117.
Ordinance.
I'm sorry, ordinance number 1178.236.3.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell,
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes.
You know, I just wanted to add something to that, a comment afterward. It's not for the record, but I was out today and they said that when they first were doing that whole area there, that it should have been on the other side of the street. And they should have come from the road up on the Florida side, and they wish they had gone back, and the ones that come in and evaluate what you're doing said you would have been better if you'd have gone across the street, but it's not gonna happen now, but I just thought it was interesting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Powell. Let's go to item L12.
Okay, so this is a neighboring property, but it's actually the same planning consultant firm, but it's unrelated to the last presentation, so it does get a little confusing, but this is a major general plan amendment known as Hacienda and Florence. The request is to revise 321 acres of property that is currently within the neighborhood's general plan category, bound by Hacienda to the west, Overfield to the east, and Florence on the south, and amend it to the commerce and business general plan category. Really, the driver for this amendment is that, you know, these 321 acres do not have certificates of assured water supply, and as you know, neighborhoods is more conducive to development that requires certificates of assured water supply. It's primarily for single-family subdivisions. Since it can't develop in that manner, the applicant is requesting commerce and business because that does support developments that can more easily occur on larger lots. Commerce and business supports uses such as multifamily, light industrial, light manufacturing, office campus sites. So it's an environment where you would you would see larger properties. So it would make it easier to split this property up in a way that doesn't trigger the certificate of assured water supply requirement. When reviewing general plans, as you well know, there's 7 specific criteria that have to be evaluated, and that first criteria speaks to 11 additional guiding principles that have to be addressed. The applicant did provide a narrative that provided justification and a description on how all of these criteria were being addressed, and staff agreed with their evaluation. Largely with regard to the criteria, it does come down to compatibility. And one thing that I want to point out about this site going to commerce and business is that both the applicant and staff agrees that the site is kind of strategically located. It's currently served by the interchange at Florence and I-10, but there are planned interchanges 2 miles to the north at Quartzen and 2 miles to the south at Selma, with Hacienda being an arterial roadway, as well as Overfield. This will ultimately have good connectivity to multiple interchanges, and given that Florence Boulevard itself, east of I-10, is a state highway, there does pose opportunity for this to develop for a variety of uses, such as an office campus or a light manufacturing site, and different opportunities for commercial and multifamily development. I do want to call attention to the fact that at the Planning Commission presentations for this item, there were public comments provided, and essentially the people who attended were not in favor of this general plan amendment. They felt that this area did not need more of the commerce and business land use category, since the existing nearby land uses, such as the Promenade and Phoenix Mart to the east, had similar land uses or approved land uses, and they felt that both the Promenade and Phoenix Mart were underperforming, and so therefore to add 321 more acres of property and put it into the commerce and business category is not necessary. They also had concerns about ultimately what this would do to traffic in the area. Although staff agrees or understands, I should say, their concern, the traffic will be mitigated at the time of development. We'll see traffic impact analysis and measures that would be required to be taken to ensure that the roadways used to serve that site were brought up to an acceptable level of service. But also, what they're observing, some of the struggles that the nearby developments have seen, the forecast is that that's changing, that this will actually provide some more synergy, if you will, as we continue to become a center of employment for Pinal County. This is an opportunity to energize that area by at least designating it in the general plan for the potential for future commercial and light industrial multifamily type development. So Planning Commission did consider this at two different meetings. At their August meeting, on a vote of 7-0, they made a recommendation that council should approve this major general plan amendment. And that concludes my presentation.
Comments, questions? Council? Go ahead, Ms. Powell.
The one thing I know that you hear from people that actually are in they're more toward Eloy, but they're in Casa Grande zoning. But they would love to see that Hacienda finished and to Shed Road where they could come right in that way. For a long time, they haven't been able to do that, and it's a nasty dirt road when it rains or somebody irrigates. So that's one of the things that they would really appreciate, is getting that Hacienda paved all the way through. Eventually, that's probably gonna go clear out of the county, the way the road's pointing right now. It's a pretty good road to use to get it fixed up.
Okay. Any other comments from council? All right, this is a public hearing, so this is item L12, Resolution 5273.10. We'll open the public hearing this time. Anyone? All right, seeing no one.
Energy level's getting too high in here.
Yeah, I think so. All right, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and call for a resolution number, please, Gloria. On L12.
Resolution number 5273.10, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from neighborhoods to commercial and business on property generally located north of Florence Boulevard, State Highway 287, between Hacienda Road and Overfield Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5273.10 as presented.
Second that man's.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote, Gloria?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. L14 is a public hearing for approval of resolution number 5273.14. Jacqueline, is this yours?
Yes, Mayor, and I'll be presenting these two together as well as
L14 and L15?
Yes.
Okay, good. Home stretch.
So this request is a major general plan amendment as well as a major PAD major amendment in the G Diamond PAD, generally located south of O'Neill Drive between Pert Road and the Colorado Street alignment. DSA 220072 is the major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor for 58.6 acres. And DSA 220081 is the PAD major amendment to parcel F of the G Diamond PAD from single-family development to multifamily development. And again, like the other general plan amendments you've heard today, the main reason for this request is that this portion of the G Diamond PAD does not have certificates of assured water and therefore cannot be developed as single-family residential as originally proposed. So this will allow this infill development to occur and to work with.
It's also an expansion of the same project that's south of it, right?
Correct, and I will get into that on
Okay,
a different
sorry.
slide. So again, you've seen all the general plan review criteria. The staff report goes into additional detail. Staff finds that it meets all the requirements, and I will be going over the first item, which is also looked at in these 11 other items. And with that, 4 and 5 is to increase the range of housing choices and products available to all members of the Casa Grande community and to support development of vacant infill lots that can be efficiently and effectively served by municipal services. And in the staff report, the applicant talks about how this application, as well as the proposed PAD amendment for residential application for residential uses, will conform the intent to plan the site for the kind of housing that the general plan seeks, such as a diverse multifamily options that fit within the context of the neighborhood, as well as the community corridor land use classification will support development of vacant infill lots that can be efficiently and effectively served by municipal services. Development has been approved or under construction on 3 sides of this site, and again, this site cannot be developed as single family as it does not have the certificates of assured water. With regards to the PAD major amendment review criteria, again, the staff report goes into detail on all of these. However, I will be covering the first item. With regards to the interrelationship with the plan elements to conditions both on and off the property, just a little overview of this area. There's an existing high school to the south at Cottonwood in Colorado. Hancock Cottonwood to the south is currently under construction, and the final plat for Red Diamond west of Colorado alignment is approved, however, has not been recorded yet. And we heard next month a PAD amendment in process for a small mixed-use development on approximately 4 acres for commercial and multifamily. And with all this, one of the biggest things is that O'Neill Drive will be extended where it currently is at Legacy to Colorado and eventually to Pert. And then the Colorado street alignment will eventually be all the way from Cottonwood to Corton. With regard to notifications for the major general plan amendment, public hearing notices met or exceeded all the city code as well as state requirements, including 2 public meetings for planning commission. And again, PAD major amendment met or exceeded all of city's requirements. Staff did not receive any inquiries or comments on either request. So with that, Planning Commission on a 7-0 vote recommended the City Council approve the major general plan request, amending the general plan land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor. That concludes my first presentation.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this, Matt?
I have one question. Can you go back to the map real
Yep.
quick? So it looks like in between that cul-de-sac there, at the top, there's another that can be single family because that has cause, right?
No,
Or no?
it doesn't.
But
It
we're
does
not doing
not
that
have-
right now.
Yeah, it is currently, it's part of the PAD zoned for single family. I don't know what will happen. Eventually, I think it will probably be developed as larger lots.
Okay, but we're just doing, because they could do 5 there.
Yeah, they could do 5 there.
5, okay. So we're just doing south of that, though?
Yes, south of that. And then I did forget to point out, just east of that, it is zoned commercial office as well.
All right.
Any questions, any comments? This is all part of that Hancock development. Same developers doing the,
And I will note, the major site plan is in review for the first phase.
okay. All right, no questions or comments from council, then I'm going to open the public hearing for L14. This is L14, approval of resolution number 5273.14. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address council on this L14? Public hearing. All right, seeing none, then I'm going to close the public hearing and call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5273.14, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending the city of Casa Grande 2030 general plan adopted by resolution number 5273 by amending the land use designation from neighborhoods to community corridor on property generally located south of O'Neill Drive between Peart Road and Colorado Street, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5273.14 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote on L14?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, move to item L15.
And then the second request, planning for the PAD major amendment, Planning and Zoning Commission on a 7-0 vote recommended to City Council to approve the G Diamond PAD major amendment with the following conditions of record. And as noted, the first one was met with the general plan amendment. And the second is the general city's right-of-way condition of approval.
Questions or comments? Okay. All right, this is a public hearing, so L15, I'm going to open the public hearing portion for L15. Okay, seeing nobody jump up, then I'm going to close the public hearing And
I think a
call,
tumbleweed just rolled by.
call for an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 1178.194.6. An ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a major amendment to G Diamond Ranch planned area development adopted for property generally located at the northwest corner of Cottonwood Lane and Peart Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1178.194.6.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Took a deep breath. All right. Okay, reports, the only thing keeping us here tonight. Mr. Lavender?
One of the things I thought was important is we've got about 6 people along the end of the room down there, and we need to provide pillows for them to be comfortable, I think would be the thing to do.
You're
Yes,
getting
absolutely.
Yes, head nods, yes. Mr. Lavender?
Well, Donna wants me to be brief because she predicted this meeting would be over at 9:45. So I'm going to filibuster because you said 10, right, Matt?
Yep. I said 9:55.
Just a couple things. I represented the city at the St. Anthony's dinner that Father Ariel hosted for our guest teachers from the Philippines. There were about 35 teachers there that play a vital role in our community in providing educators at all levels, elementary, middle school, high school. And so it was an enjoyable evening. And also, Mayor, thank you for including us last week in the roundtable with Congressman O'Halloran. It was very informative as well.
Donna?
Mayor's reading program is Wednesday. Welcome back, winter visitors. That's all.
Matt?
Well, Don and I bet lunch on 9:45 versus 10, so I have a few things to go over here. No, but importantly, this Saturday, the 22nd of October, is the Youth Commission's annual Fall Shredding Day at First American Credit Union, 1001 North Pinal, from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. So bring your boxes to shred, any donations, and we're also doing e-cycle, thanks to the Public Works Department helping out with that again. Continuing on October 22nd, in addition to being my anniversary, I convinced my wife we're throwing a Oktoberfest party downtown for her anniversary. She did not buy that. However, the Rotary Club is throwing Oktoberfest. It is downtown at the Neon Sign Park. There'll be a car show. It's our first annual. It's free to attend. There's entertainment. We are selling tickets for food. That includes food and raffle. And there will also be drink sales as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I happen to have some food tickets if anybody would like them. They're $20 a piece, and I'd like to thank Mr. Lavender. He's already purchased some. Still working on it, Donna. In addition, Wednesday this week is the Chamber Showcase at the property from 5:30 on. I'd like to thank Congressman O'Halloran for coming down again. And one thing about our streets I've read online is people talking about the drainage in the streets, and that's how Casa Grande was originally designed. And since it doesn't rain here all that often, that's the way that we convey water off our property, especially in some of the neighborhoods that were developed a little while ago. So just so people know, the streets are supposed to have water in them when it does have a big rain event like we did Saturday. So any questions, you can call Kevin in Public Works, and I'm sure he will be happy to explain that. But just so people know, we are aware, and it's about 24 hours, and it should all empty out. So that's it.
Mr. Powell?
Yes. We have an athlete here with us, Anthony Edwards. And I was kind of one because I used to rope cattle a lot. And we didn't get in trouble for hitting anybody with the ropes like they did when they came across the river. I shouldn't talk like that. And I was, the deal with team roping, if you got to where you had a good trailer and you had Lincoln to drive, boy, you were right where you needed to be. 2 days ago, I had a birthday and I got where I needed to be. I got that Lincoln, so,
All right.
yeah,
All right.
that's good.
All right. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Lisa?
Okay, I'll move along. Let's see, who bet 10 o'clock? I'll try to hurry. Saturday, we had the Hispanic Heritage Month downtown. Wanted to thank Casa Grande Main Street, the City Arts and Humanities Commission, the Latino Familia Initiative, Canal Hispanic. Great event. Again, it's like our second one, so I think as, we're hoping next year we're learning and make it bigger, but I know a couple council members stopped by, and so it was a nice event for sure. The Transit Committee met this week, and they are going to be presenting the 3 final recommendations that are going to go out to the community to vote
For the
on the
names.
names.
Yeah.
Right, and then, of course, the mayor will be picking a committee will be picking a transit advisory committee, so you have meetings set up for the applicants for the transit advisory committee. But the ideas, did you see them? Did you see the idea
haven't
of the
seen the
3?
finals,
Oh, okay.
no.
The final, they're good. They're really good. There's 3 fun options, and so it's going to be interesting to see what the public picks and, the community. So that's going to come to the council, I think it was the first meeting in November. I can't remember. But anyway, housing. I know we've been talking a lot about affordable workforce housing, and, I thank the mayor, him and I, had discussions, and so he had a meeting with the Arizona Department of Housing. Larry and Stephen and I and the mayor talked about it, discussions. And so we have a meeting coming up, a roundtable, but we're excited because they were able to connect us with a affordable housing builder that can maybe take advantage of some of the low-income housing tax credits. So looking forward to that meeting and seeing what we can do in the community for affordable housing. Congressman O'Halloran was here, talked a lot about all the issues we're all talking about: water, inflation, infrastructure, broadband, police, drugs, electric vehicles. So that was a nice meeting with him. And I guess that's all. I'll stop.
He's a
I'll
gentle
stop.
person.
Yes, he is. Very nice man.
Bob?
Okay, that's it.
You guys may have to help me if I get any of these details wrong, but I believe Friday is the FFA steak fry. So come out and buy a steak. Also, Saturday and Sunday is Kaywood Farms Annual Fall Fest. And you can go out there and buy your pumpkin for Halloween. And it sounds like they've got all kinds of stuff: hay rides, food trucks, jumping castles. Should be a lot of fun, especially for the kids. And also October 25th, after a long wait, and I'm sure a lot of work on their behalf, is Throwback grand opening. So I'm looking forward to attending that. That's all I've got.
And Mayor.
Dress up in your 80s outfit.
Oh, for throwback?
Oh, yeah, I don't have any of
Nice, okay. Oh, Mayor, really quick, the governor's office did come down and give a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Very nice.
A gentleman came to represent the
Yep,
governor. It was
yep.
really, really nice. But I don't know, where do these proclamations go? To you, Gloria? Okay, there you go.
Gloria will take care of it. I don't have a whole lot. I just want to thank the football team, Vista Grande and Union, for hoofing up the CG Mountain and painting the CG. That was like 2 weeks ago, I think, tonight or today.
Our last meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to really thank the one that I missed. You mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
And Scott McEwen.
And Scott, yeah, absolutely. Scott for organizing it. So he's all over it and a big help. So thank you, Scott. And then really, that's probably about it. I was going to mention Throwback, but that's already mentioned. So I'll keep my comments short. And I got the under. Yay. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.